Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. This is my colleague Matthias. Together we will do the talk together. We have a company together, and with two other guys, Simon and Jakob, and we built an app last year. And this now finally we are ready to show you what we did. So just what we'll go through, I will show you the starting point, the app, what it looks like, what the architecture of the project is, the templating engine behind, and then Matthias will take on with the swiping engine, the challenges, the techniques, and the examples. So the starting point was one of the biggest mobile provider in Austria asked us to have kind of like a digital magazine, like not just like a brochure, but like on a tablet with like animations, and basically they use it for a B2B sale. So like a salesman is next to a customer and they go through the products, and it has like a matrix-like structure. So it has like chapters and it has pages on each chapter. And depending on how the sales talk goes, he can go through the app like he feels like. It has to support all kind of media types. And it has to work smoothness. Sadly, so far it's not open source. We're discussing how we're gonna handle this. I want to show you a quick video. Also, I have the tablet with me, so afterwards I can show you the tablet. But this is basically the what the app looks like. So basically, you can just swipe through the app, just like table of contents. Then this is like a video, and it starts by itself, and you can still like interact with all the features. There's like hidden like informations, so the salesman can like interact differently. There's smart opinions about apparently smart people. There's some nice informations, and again, yeah, you see this is the video. Video renders very fast, and you can like just swipe the video like the whole page like to the next. Yeah, so what does the architecture look like? So we extracted from the code two libraries, one is the swipe engine, which is responsible for the whole interaction. And one is the templating engine, which is responsible to have kind of like components on each page, because there's like custom JavaScript on each page, as you've seen with all the overlays and interactions. Those two are required in the magazine, and yeah. Technologies we used, so basically it's obviously all web technologies, but we put it in a container which use a native like Android or iOS web view. We use Sass and Jade for the templates, Browserify and Grunt, yeah, and Fileblocks for the JavaScript. So first, like I want to show you how like the directories look like and how we built it. So basically, you see chapter 5 house. This is like one chapter. As I told you, there are more chapters, and each chapter has 0 or more pages. And you see there's like 2 pages on this chapter. Every page has its assets, and every page has its page.jade, its content.json, and most importantly, every chapter has its chapter.json. And this is where we say how you're gonna go through the app. So if you look at this chapter.json, you see on the top, like if you go right, you will head to chapter 6 business. If you go left, you head to chapter 4 map. And also on each page, there is up and down. Like if you go up, there's nothing up. But if you go down, you go to chapter 5 house, page 2. And here, if you go up, you go to page 1 again. This is how we create the way how you act through the app. Yeah, Matthias, can you please describe the swipe engine?
So now we learned about how the surroundings are and what we actually built there, and I will go into detail and explain the challenges and how we solved them. So the most challenging thing was that we didn't know how many pages those magazines could have. It would be possible that we would have been required to create a product catalog with 100 products or something. So how does a browser with a single page app without reloading and everything solve that? And the other thing that was very difficult was that we didn't know which animations or multimedia elements will be included in those pages. And also there has been the requirement that inside one page in the magazine it should be possible to scroll down. Although this doesn't make really much sense from a UX perspective, but you know, client is king. So those were the basic challenges, and then there were also the technical challenges of those times. At those times, we started the project, and they exist still. So most difficult thing about providing a good user experience with very slow, with very with very short waiting time for the user. You know the rule. If a user has to wait more than a couple of milliseconds, he thinks that it's his interaction and not the application. You know that? Well, it's crazy. Yeah, and these were the biggest challenges of those problems. Also, of course, if you deploy to different tablets and sizes and everything, responsiveness is a problem. So we try to solve those problems by using this templating engine for the responsiveness and using this swiping engine for the interaction part. So this is how we solve the problem basically. In fact, swiping is only possible in two directions, left, also horizontal and vertical. So this is the thing that should be optimized, because if you swipe through multiple pages and there are videos in it which are running and sounds and pictures and everything, you don't have time to render everything. It has to be pre-rendered, so that when the user swipes through it, and you know the salespeople, they just swipe like this and think the device will do anything. So we solved it by pre-rendering everything that possibly can get swiped into the tablet viewport, and change the DOM only if the person changes the direction of swiping. So if he actually swipes in the same direction in fast pace, it doesn't get stuck. But if it changes too often, it takes time. But the time is so slow that he can't. The time it takes to re-render is so fast that he can't really change his swipe direction. So this is what we've overcome. And also you see from this metrics-like definition of a magazine that that only the blue ones are those that are in the DOM and using RAM and using performance and using everything, and the others are only in the RAM. They're cached, and then there are still some pages which the user never sees, and they're never even loaded into the browser. They are only in the structure. So this is how we can create magazines with about 200, 400 pages. The techniques we used to overcome those challenges were, of course, profiling. Who doesn't know profiling in Chrome or other browsers? Well, it's a very good thing. For example, the most important thing that we used was looking at how much time was used for painting, for rendering, and for composition, which happens on the GPU and not on the CPU, so it can be hardware accelerated. And this is also the most important thing that we learned. If you really have performance problems with transitions of big portions of your website or something, then you have to stick to CSS properties which do not trigger rendering or do not trigger painting. You have to use CSS properties for those animations and for those transitions that only trigger compositing. And also we learned that it is necessary to decouple your JavaScript code, to layer it like you would do it in a desktop application if it has the same performance requirements. We separated the input layer completely from the rendering layer. And thus, what we saw in the video could have been programmed completely. All the injections, everything could have been programmed. But yeah, it was very, very important to separate this and do not work on a container which is inside the app, because yeah, you know the problems which comes with deregistration and registration of event handlers and everything. It adds very much complexity to the project. And then I will go into this detail later. We had this problem of video autoplaying. So, yeah, that right there, we have it. Who knows the problems with autoplaying videos? Yeah, it's not funny. And so the problem actually is that a video can only autoplay if there is some kind of user interaction. So he has to click somewhere or move the mouse or something or anything. Looking doesn't count. So we made a workaround using native code in the container which provides the native web view on the device. And we hooked into, you can actually look up the code here. It fires an event to the container, and the container then re-triggers the click on the video. So this works, and it works very good, and we can show it to you on our tablets later. But the most important part of it is not the autoplaying solution thing, but this is some technical stuff, and everybody is angry about it, but it's overcomable. The other thing that is really problematic was that once the video is loaded and playing, and the user starts to interact with the magazine, and he can not only swipe it, he can move it and move it back. So it's very important for the salesman to be able to do this. So we had to look into how we can achieve it that the video is still playing smoothly while the user is moving it. So the most important thing is that the HTML5 video tag is embedded in a compositing layer. And you can achieve that by putting some CSS properties like transition set or transition 3D or something. You can look it up on csstriggers.com. And yeah, this is the most important part when you try to enhance the performance of a playing video while there is this user interaction going on. And now I will show you how this all happens in DOM. You already saw the blue pages, the gray pages, and the half blue gray pages. So now you see only the blue pages. And this is what happens when the user interacts with the magazine. Actually, there is this container which contains another container, which is important because of this whole compositing thing. And inside this inner container, you have the pages the user can reach. Only those are rendered, and only those are in DOM. And at the moment, we are on this page, on the table of contents. So this page is not oriented in any kind of way. It's not defined at this moment if the person will switch horizontally or vertically. But from the code, we see that there are no pages which can be reached by vertical swiping. So the engine interprets that any swipe into a vertical direction will be ignored. Once we swipe to the next page, we see that in the last code example, the table of contents is still the page we have been on. And now we're not on the table of contents anymore, but on this page. And as we swipe in the horizontal direction, to a chapter which contains some pages which can be reached through vertical swiping, those pages are simply added to the list, and by some CSS magic which happens inside this class, which I will explain later, those pages can be reached by vertical swiping. So the next thing we will do is swipe up or move down, because this is always the thinking into the different directions. And what happens now is that before we have been in a horizontal swiping context, and it could have been quite possible that the person didn't swipe just one slide, but he could have swiped multiple slides. So this is why we stuck with this solution. And once the person swipes down, it's only the one page that swipes into the viewport, and after the swipe is finished, the DOM is re-rendered to what you see here. And from that point on, you see that there is no horizontal 7 anymore, but vertical 5, which means that there are 5 pages that can be reached by vertical scrolling. And if there would have been 100 ones, it would be the class vertical 100. And yeah, also you see that we use this translate set on the inner container. This is creating the compositing layer, which enables the hardware accelerated rendering. And we use the translate command, which only triggers compositing and no re-rendering or repainting of the app. So while the user is swiping through the magazine, which happens by CSS transform animations, you know, on this transform property is eased, so the whole transformation looks very smoothly and is completely hardware accelerated. Yeah, that's actually how we implemented this project, and we solved this problem, and that's how it works in the end. So you see really how smooth it works, and yeah. Also you see that on this page you have some vertical scrolling elements for whatever reason, and this video with this beautiful woman, and it really works. Like, you know, it doesn't stop or stuck. It gets stuck or something. The user feels this flow and has this experience he should have. And this is also what we as a company believe in. Software should be usable and should be easy to use and to understand. Yeah, it was very nice to show you this example of Craftworks or coding.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Questions?
Questions?
So I'm not that much of a CSS guy and so on, so all these transformations are quite new to me. But as you're using a translate transformation, which you are using, as you said, because that is fully hardware accelerated, you had to calculate whether you are at the next page or not completely on your own, right? You had to.
Yes, the state, actually, it's funny because we developed it before we got in touch with React and all those separation of concerns with immutability and UI state and data state. And we do this actually in this swipe engine. We differentiate between the UI state and the data state, and we know in every moment of time we know what the user is doing, at which page he is, if he is currently swiping between two pages or not, and which direction he's swiping, and everything is reflected in JavaScript as objects, or not in JavaScript, in the data model. And we do calculate it on our own. It's the only way to match those those problems, or to circumvent.
So that's why you... No. Okay.
Nice one.
Any other questions? I think we're all tired anyway, so why don't we have a beer and see us until next time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching this talk. Down below you can find our channel ViennaJS, where you can find a lot of different videos about front-end and back-end JavaScript, and feel free to subscribe.